Thank you, Jake. Good morning. I'm going to dust off an old talk I did in chapel about 15 or 16 years ago. Somebody pretty near and dear to me suggested, why don't you do that one again? Okay, except for people who've been around a while, this will be news for you. The name of the topic is turning points. Turning points, if you look it up in Wikipedia, dictionaries, etc., a time or an act that kind of changes the course of the way things are going. I have a friend, a football coach at Essex Catholic High School in New Jersey, used to just call it delayed intelligence. Something happens and then you don't realize it till later on that it was for the better and things moved on from there. I'm going to talk about the first time I ever heard of the concept of a turning point. 1960, I was a sixth grader at Woodland Junior High School in East Meadow, New York. My homeroom teacher wheeled in a television. It was October, the World Series going on, and the Yankees were in it, of course, because if you're a New Yorker in the 50s and 60s, the Yankees were in the World Series, and it was just a matter of who they were going to play that year. So they were playing the Pirates, and unfortunately this past weekend, I was reminded of this because my daughter's boyfriend is from Pittsburgh, and he started asking me about that World Series, and I got increasingly angrier with him. The Yankees were playing the Pirates, Game 7, tied up 3-3 in terms of games, one for each team. Bottom of the 8th inning, Yankees are up 7-4. We're in, baby. This is it, another one for my boys. Pirates are up in the bottom of the 8th for the old Forbes Field. Man on first, nobody out. Up comes a guy named Bill Verdon, who ironically later went on to become the manager of the Yankees many years later. So, man on first, no out, Bill Verdon. Ground ball, Tony Kubek, sure-handed shortstop for the Yankees, goes to pick it up, and in that beautiful infield at Forbes Field, there is one little pebble. Whole infield, one itty-bitty pebble, and that ball finds the pebble. Instead of a double play ball, the ball hits the pebble, bounces up, Kubek gets hit in the throat, he goes down, all hands safe, everybody's safe. So instead of double play ball, 2 out, nobody on in the bottom of the 8th, now there's 2 runners on, no outs. Okay? Pirates go on to score 5 runs, excuse me, I'm thinking basketball. Okay. Pirates go on to score 5, and now they take a 9-7 lead into the top of the 9th. The Yanks tie it up 9-9. Okay? Let's get through the bottom of the 9th, and eventually our big bats will wear them down. Except this little second baseman for the Pirates, okay, probably if you piece together all his hits for the season would not reach the outfield wall. Bill Mazeroski knocks one over the wall, bottom of the 9th. Ralph Perry's pitching for the Yanks, World Series over. I'm in tears. Okay, the next morning, all the New York newspapers addressed the turning point of the game. That ground ball that bounced up and hit Kubek in the throat. That was my first experience with the term turning points. We'll go forward about 6 years now to June of 1966. Now I'm in 11th grade at East Meadow High School. Okay, and it was a disaster. Okay, I thought I was fine. I just thought the teachers misunderstood me. Okay, I thought I was okay. The only problem was I was in a lot of hot water. Failing subjects every summer, 4 subjects in summer school. Sure you can figure out which one I passed besides phys ed. And it was a rough time for me in high school. I struggled with it. I was suspended numerous times, failing classes, just a real wreck. Okay? But once again, I thought I was okay, just the teachers didn't understand me. Okay? In June of that year, I was thrown out of East Meadow High School. Now you gotta work, okay? It's not easy. Okay, you know, you do 2 or 3 things wrong at Salisbury, okay, it's been nice knowing you. Okay, you gotta work to get thrown out of a high school that has 1,000 kids in each grade. Okay, but I managed to accomplish that feat. Okay, and you know, I was having a good time, just yucking it up, skipping school. When I was in school, I ended up getting suspended. It was a real tough time, but I was having a blast doing it all. Okay, and then all of a sudden, about June 18th, I got a letter from the assistant principal saying that my time at East Meadow High School had expired. I came home and I cried like a baby. It was a tough time. All the laughter in one little letter died in sorrow. Okay, fortunately, my mother got to me before my father did. Okay, and I told her what had happened, and she says, "Don't worry, we'll figure it out." I said, "Yeah, but Pop's going to just destroy me." Okay, because I had one of those real old school, old world fathers. Okay, fortunately, she had the good sense, we'll call him at work. Because at work, he can't be bothered with anything else. Okay, and that way, by the time he gets home, he'll have heard it. For the second time when we get home, I'll be okay, I'll live through this experience. Okay, at that point, I was sent to a place upstate New York called Lakemont Academy. Okay, you know, an author once described Lakemont Academy in a book as being a school for the most wayward of wayward boys. Okay, and I kind of blended right in. The only difference was, I'd say about 2/3 of the guys in that school kept doing things the way they'd been going. Okay, and numerous kids were getting thrown out all the time. I looked at it as my one shot. This was my chance. And all the things that I'd been doing in high school up to that point, I did a complete 180. Okay, I didn't miss a class that year. I studied, I took notes, I rewrote my notes every day before starting my homework. I became the quintessential nerdy student. Everything that I had been against, every kid that I laughed at when I was a student in school, I became. Okay, and it was a major turning point. And as I think back, turning points in my life was that letter, first one was that letter from East Meadow High School saying, "You are no longer welcome." Okay, they called me incorrigible, I think was the terminology. Okay, flash forward 3 years. I've been working at a sports camp not far from here. I've gone to that camp as a kid. I grew up there. I spent the 2 worst summers of my life, 1966 and 1967, working in the kitchen, washing dishes, scrubbing pots. Okay, in the long run, it was a great experience. Taught me some humility, taught me the value of some hard work. Okay, and of course at nights, I met with tutors, you know, take care of the subjects I've been failing. Okay, but it was a great opportunity for me, and I worked hard there. The following summer, I worked there on the athletic staff, and it was great. I was a counselor there, I was having a blast, working and playing ball with the guys I had grown up with every summer. I went to talk to the owner of the camp about a position there. The following summer, I told him I wanted a higher position, I wanted a bit of a promotion. He did not give it to me. Okay, a little bit of nepotism, whatever. He handed it to all his college ball players from Delphi University. They grabbed the good jobs. And I was furious, so I just took a chance. I grew up, I was working with guys I loved, but I moved away. I went to another camp upstate New York. Okay, it was a wonderful time for me. I was stepping away, doing something uncomfortable. Talk about getting out of your comfort zone, and that was it. I was very comfortable at the camp here in Connecticut. Okay, but turning point. That guy not giving me that raise and that job was a turning point. I took a job at this camp over in the Catskills in New York, upstate New York, and there was this young lady there, okay, who really got my attention. Okay, and the lady turned out to be, I was 19 years old, I'm going into my junior year of college, and it was Miss D. Okay, some of you think that might have been an unfortunate turning point in her life. But as my friend Andy once described, I mean, I was getting better, but it's still a little rough around the edges. My friend Andy once described her as being the miracle worker. And the fact that she took me on, I think that was probably her first big community service project. Okay? Fast forward many years later, several children later, and what have you, August of 1990. Okay, I went down to Florida, we moved down there. First year, I did not have a teaching position. I did substitute teaching. I washed houses, cleaned houses, doing whatever it takes to pay the bills, keep a family afloat. Okay, the following year, in August, I take a job at Forest Hill High School. Okay, Forest Hill High School, wonderful place in the city of West Palm Beach, but in 1994, actually, it was ranked as the 6th most dangerous high school in the United States. Okay, and I'll let your imaginations run with any movie you've seen about, you know, the schooling in inner cities. That's where we were. I met a young man there. Actually, I didn't meet him, I fought with him. okay? Young man, pretty tough hombre, doing a lot of bad things at our school, a lot of things that I had to go toe-to-toe with him over, okay? Wheeling and dealing, drugs, skipping school, just whooping it up, okay? In 1993, 3 years later, that young man came to me and says, I'm tired of being stupid. I want to be smart like white kids. I said, well, I can show you a lot of dumb white kids. Okay? I said, the key is you want to be smart like people who study. Okay? I said, if you're willing to study, because when you open a book, it doesn't know who you are, where you're from, or what color you are. It gives the same, that book gives the same information to anybody who's willing to open it. And I said to him, if you do well for a couple years, we'll keep working with you. The young man gave up everything that he'd been doing in the streets. Okay? I asked him one day, I said, why did you decide to change? He says, this past summer, my 7-year-old cousin was killed by a bullet that was aimed for me. Okay? If you've all seen the movie The Blind Side, if you've seen those housing projects down in Memphis, that's a carbon copy of where this boy came from down in West Palm Beach. That young man now has a master's degree. Okay, works for the state of Florida as a youth probation counselor, working with students from all the different high schools in West Palm Beach. Okay? Fast forward, 2013, August, this past August. Okay? I finally made up my mind the only way I was going to be able to take Samuel Dingba to the hoop was to have my knee replaced. Okay, so we went ahead and did that. He's been running from me since. Okay? Unfortunately, knee replacements, they don't tell you everything in the hospital before they do it. And I ran into some real tough times there. I threw 2 blood clots into my lungs. They called them pulmonary embolisms. I had no idea what that was. All I knew is that I saw Miss D really concerned talking with doctors while I was laying there in the bed, in the hospital bed. So the next morning, when I'm a little more with it, I take out my cell phone, I go to Safari, and I say, okay, what is a pulmonary embolism? And I freak out. I read things like potentially life-threatening, could be fatal, you know, all these kind of things. I've read on about 15% of all sudden deaths are caused by pulmonary embolisms, blood clots to your lungs. Fortunately for me, I had a wonderful nurse. Okay, when the doctors missed it, she sensed that something was wrong. Okay, and because of her, I'm talking to you. I say that to you only because that was an unbelievable turning point in my life. I came out of that hospital and I never appreciated my wife, my children, the ability to stand up in front of you and teach a class, the ability to coach, okay? Just go on with life. And when I'm this far away this summer from losing it, it was just an amazing thing to have it again, okay? And I want you guys to understand that things happen to you here and outside, obviously, okay? And they may get you really angry. You may have a letter one day that says, your time is up. Something may happen to you. The teacher may say something to you that you're not happy with. But if you look back later on in retrospect, that could be a turning point in your life. Okay? By the way, the young man I was talking about, a kid named Terrence Reed, the prep school he went to was Salisbury. And he loves this place. I hope you love it like he does. Thank you.